I'm going to cheat a little bit here. It's not specifically a motorsports but it's related. It involves motorsports. You're going to have to forgive me. We're basically in the off season here. There's not a ton going on right now. So, right before the show tonight, I watched Jimmy Johnson's interview on the Today Show from, I think it was yesterday. And obviously Today Show being, an NBC property, it might've been Al Roker. I forget it. I think he was part of that panel, but anyway, one of the panelists said, you can watch the Hall of Fame induction ceremony exclusively on Peacock. You already bought it for the NFL game. You might as well use it for this NASCAR Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And thank you, Kobe, for putting that in the scripts and, name dropping Peacock specifically, because I'm just fed up. I'm tired of all these different streaming services. I'm tired of having to remember 100 different passwords for 100 different places. And I'm tired of the continued fragmentation of all these different, Peacock was actually the first streaming service that I signed up for with my own money because, I like Dale Jr., I like abandoned racetracks. I wanted to watch a lot of Speedway. So I was like, okay, $5 a month, that's not that much.
Still want to watch that.
Pitched it into, to watch a lot of Speedways there, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. I'm a little disappointed we never got Nazareth on there, but, you've got Peacock now, and I'm thinking, well, okay, this is a pretty good deal, right? Because you've got every season of Saturday Night Live, you've got a ton of different movies and TV shows and different documentaries, and there's some live sports that NBC's trying to build up, and I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. But then, I don't know, Ted Lasso drops on Apple TV. And I'm like, well, I want to watch that. So there's another $6 or $7, whatever it is. Then there's this show on HBO Max. Then there's this show on Paramount Plus. By the way, did I mention I want to keep up with Drive to Survive on Netflix? I'm paying for that. Yeah. I'm a big Disney fan in terms of what they're doing with Marvel and Star Wars and all those different. I want to keep up with all those different shows. That's Disney Plus now. Well, I'm a generic sports fan, right? I got to have ESPN Plus. Well, now I've got 2 of the 3. I might as well get the Disney bundle, right? So there goes Hulu. Have I mentioned Discovery Plus as a thing yet? Even though they said they were going to just stop me whenever you like. And then within the streaming services, MLS just signing this massive deal with Apple TV. You got to get the season pass. If I'm going to watch all the Union games, right? Everything just continues to add up. And then just getting me to my breaking point this week, when the NFL and NBC and Peacock come out and they say 23 million people watched the wild card game. It's the biggest numbers we've ever seen for a streaming exclusive and everything. And I'm like, well, yeah, because the NFL is king. 97 of the top 100 watched telecasts in the United States were all NFL games, and the couple that weren't, I think there was one presidential debate and a couple of college football games, right? Like American gridiron football just rules supreme here. Why is anybody surprised? And you put it behind a paywall. This was the only option that people had. But the real kicker for me is, and this draws it back to the motorsports conversation, what has Peacock done with the IndyCar exclusives? The Peacock exclusive races that they put on the last couple of years. You know what they've said? You know what those numbers were? I'm asking you, do you know? Because I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
All they told me was, the ratings were in line with our projections, and we have no further Well, that can't be good, right? I mean, if 23 million people watched an IndyCar race at Toronto, you bet they would be rushing those press releases without even proofreading them first, right? They would want to get those out as soon as possible. So when the numbers are good, NBC is more than happy to put them out there. The fact that they didn't release the Peacock exclusive numbers, and yet they're doubling down on it, they're going to have 2 Peacock exclusive races next year. I mean, it just really, it rubs me the wrong way so much, and it continues to frustrate me. By the way, I didn't even mention Amazon Prime, and that's where some of the NASCAR races are going to be next year. I mean, it just, I can't even list all of them off the top of my head because there are so many. And, and then you get into the whole idea of cord cutting. You still want to be able to watch live TV. So then you throw a YouTube TV or a Sling TV in there. I mean, it's just too much. I feel like the whole point of Netflix was we're going to pull all these different movies from all these different distribution companies together, and it's all going to be in one place, and you can stream them whenever you want. And it's only $8 a month. Well, now every TV network, every distributor has their own streaming service, and they're all, and by the way, I know inflation's out of control, but I've been getting countless emails this year. But, by the way, we're increasing your subscription price to $6 a month, or from $50 a year to $60 a year. I mean, it never ends. It continues to add up. By the time you pull everything together that you want to watch, you're paying the same amount you were paying for the 120 different cable channels that you weren't watching. but now you have to remember 15 passwords on top of that. I mean, it's out of control. And people know that I'm a huge proponent of physical media. I understand that there is certainly a place for streaming. I think streaming can be great. I think it's great that we have technology, but we need to embrace it because we have the option, not because it's a necessity for all the things that we used to be able to watch through traditional media or through physical media or whatever the case may be, that we now have to find ourselves paying, for all these different streaming services because it's behind a paywall. It just drives me absolutely insane. And I'm not very happy about the direction that things are going. I know it's inevitable. I know ESPN's probably going direct to consumer in a couple of years, but, or maybe even, in 2025, but I don't know. It just really rubs me the wrong way. No, this comment's been on the screen here for a couple of minutes now. Sorry, Matthew, but you're telling me I'm in the 1849 age range, a new fan, not a legacy fan. So I should love streaming. That's the rules. And I have to love Chicago and not have interest in North Wilkesboro. Somebody's been listening to the morning drive, I can tell. Hey, I've been watching this sport since 2007. I don't know if that makes me a true legacy fan, but I certainly wouldn't consider myself a new fan either. I think, why are we defining fans by that in the first place, right? Everybody gets a say, everybody gets a vote. And, we need to have these discussions and these debates without shouting people down. I'm all for having the conversation, but I think at the same time, you can't ignore the very real problems that we have now with the way the landscape is going here. And a good point by Kane's Cats Heat 305 as well. The only place you can watch IndyCar practices is Peacock. That's where you can watch all the Indy Next races. I'd love to know what the ratings are for the Indy Next races. I'm sure there's only a handful of executives that know the answer to that, probably because there's only a handful of people watching it. You can probably count it on your fingers with how many people are watching those. But just very, very frustrating. As was
They'll have a bunch of the Rolex on Peacock as well next weekend. To point on your Peacock game of because I didn't have to pay attention to Wildcard Weekend this weekend. It was the Chiefs game that was on Peacock, wasn't it? And there's your answer to the 100 million people that were watching the Chiefs. Yeah. And I agree with Adam.
I moved up. I'm here in New England now. I guess I have to say the Patriots are my adopted AFC team. But the second closest NFL team to my home in Delaware would be the Baltimore Ravens. So I can get behind the Ravens a little bit. I was hoping for an Eagles-Ravens Super Bowl, but then it became very, very clear very quickly that was not going to happen. I get right. You guys call the sport we call soccer is football over where you are, Matt, right? So anytime anybody talks about Philadelphia's football team, this is what we're going with, right? We don't acknowledge that the birds are on probation, right? We're not acknowledging them for the immediate future here until some major changes are coming. I don't know. Maybe Kobe's Carolina Panthers can take Brian Johnson off our hands. We will drive him down to Carolina ourselves, Kobe. We will get in the car. We will bring him to you and hand deliver him over so that you guys can have a new head coach down there in Carolina, and everything will be great, and we can reset here in Philly. I think it's a win-win.
All I'll say, Ben, I'll coach the team myself before I let Brian Johnson coach the team. I will coach the team myself before we let Brian Johnson. Hopefully we can get a competent coach because, as you know, as a Carolina Panther fan these last few years, it's been very brutal. I really hope Mr. Tepper can learn from all the mistakes that he's made and we can finally put the right people in the right places, someone who can develop Bryce Young and put some talent around him, get a real offensive line, some playmakers on defense, some great wide receivers can actually catch the ball, a running back you can rely on, everything under the sun. I'm ready for the Carolina Panthers to get back to playoff contention because these last few years have been, just horrible and miserable. We still have that Super Bowl hangover from losing to the Broncos. This has been crazy since then.
And that's your NFL Tonight update on the Grid Network for this week.